innovation. Then we'll take a break during which you can use the chat function on Zoom to send me any questions you may have. And then after the break, we'll pick up on those questions and then follow with talking about the task that you will be doing over the next week. And so let's get started. Essentially, there's like three parts I want to talk about today, and it's building towards the overall topic, which has the two main elements of innovation and purpose-driven. So we'll first look at what innovation actually means, and it's very straightforward and simple. I mean, you all, I think, know and have an idea of what innovation means. So we'll just go through a definition and look at a little bit of what that means for business. We will then take a look at what purpose-driven means. So what is purpose? Why is purpose-driven a good idea? And how is it related to values? Because values are in essence the driver for anything that's purpose-driven, for purpose-driven actions. And at the third step, then we're going to bring the two together, and we're looking, okay, now we know what innovation is, now we know what purpose-driven is. So what is purpose-driven innovation? And I will provide some definitions. I contrasted already with four innovations that I'm showing you as one of the first slides now. And then we'll go into some examples of purpose-driven innovation and look at those before taking the break. So I'm much looking forward, and whilst we are missing the personal interaction of being able to see you in the classroom, I'm very happy to see that so many of you have come in here to join us today. So let's get going. What is innovation is the first part that we want to be looking at. And in essence, I want to show you a few examples of innovations. Of course, they have been, changing many people's lives and have been very impactful. But as we'll see later on, these innovations could have been very much purpose-driven innovations, but some parts of them are not. And we'll use that to contrast what we mean between traditional innovation, or innovation as most businesses are viewing it, and as what we call purpose-driven innovation. We've got the light bulb, we've got, of course, the printer, being able to be at home and just print out materials as you wish is hugely innovative and has changed many people's work lives for sure, and also our personal lives. Silk stockings were very, very expensive and limited in what you could do with it. So inventing the nylon stocking was a huge impact on fashion, on the fashion industry, on the accessibility, and to be able to substitute silk with nylon, a much cheaper, much more flexible material. And lastly, an MP3 player that I'm showing you here, which of course has radically changed the way we can access music wherever we are, whatever we do, and not only music, but any kind of sound files. So these are just to kick off a few examples of impactful innovations, and we'll come back to them later, so you'll see why I chose the four that I chose. If we're looking at a simple sort of dictionary definition of what innovation is, then innovation is defined as a new idea, creative thoughts, or new imaginations who take the form of a device or a method. So innovations can be both in that sense. They can be something you can touch and feel or eat or drink, or they can be something as a device. But innovation can also refer on method. It can also refer on the means that are deployed to produce something, a good or a service, and the way in which we're producing things or services. So we have these both sides of device or method that innovation relates to, but it always is based on a new idea, on creative thoughts or new imaginations that then take some kind of concrete form through device or method. So that is for innovation very generally. It's not yet really focused on business. So if we're looking then what that means for businesses in the context of business, We have two main areas, I think, where innovation plays a big role, and where there's one big difference there is on one side business model innovation, and on the other side product or services innovation. And those are the two main domains where innovation is happening in the business context. For business model innovation, it actually means the simultaneous change to operating model of a business and its value proposition to customers. So what is happening in business model innovation is that we are looking at what is the operating model of a business organization? When does it do in which sequence to deliver or produce what? The whole way the business operates. And at the same time, we're looking at the value proposition to customers. What do customers get out of it? Why do customers buy my products? What is the value proposition to the customer? And if we're changing this value proposition and the way in which we operate as a business organization, then we're talking about business model innovation. And the aims, as we will see, same as with product innovation, the aim of business model innovation traditionally has been to drive growth and or profit of the organization. So to make the organization bigger and or commercially more successful. And this relates to the work of an Austrian economist called Schumpeter, who said that capitalism is essentially based on creative destruction. And so in order to simultaneously change an operating model and the value proposition, something older, something that has been done before has to go. And so this creative destruction, a never-ending process of creative destruction, is at the heart of innovation in the business context. And as such, business model innovation provides the answer to staying effective. It provides businesses with the opportunity to adapt to changing environments where people maybe still want this similar product, but they want to use it in a different way, or I need to respond to competitive pressures in changing my operating model. And that's the one big domain of innovation in the business context is business model innovation. And secondly, of course, we have product innovation, and product innovation is based on developing new goods or services or new methods for producing goods and services. So we're relating here very strongly back to the overall definition, the dictionary type definition for innovation from the previous slide. And on the product innovation side, it's about methods or goods and services that are new, that haven't existed before. And the aim of that is the same as with business model innovation. It's driving growth and or profit for the organization. And the central element of it, again, is creative destruction, but it's creative destruction of products and services rather than of the modes in which we're operating to produce them. The answer that product innovation provides, I think, is in the first place an answer to commoditization. So it is an answer to a tendency that we have that pretty much each and every product or service that we come up with sooner or later, it is no longer innovative. It is something that people all over the world copy, that efficiency drive, make it easier accessible, cheaper to produce, and at some point it is fully commoditized. And IBM is one of those tech companies that is hugely successful. If you look simply as how long they've been around, then they must be doing something right. And in IBM, there's a very clear notion that there is nothing that they will do, that there's nothing they invented over the last, I think, over 100 years that they've been existing, that has not at some point in time become commoditized. So you need to continue to innovate in order to have products that others cannot copy so easily, and that will provide you with a more attractive value proposition and thereby the commercial foundation for a successful business. And these are the two main elements of innovation in the business context. On one side, business model innovation, referring to the operating model of a business, and on the other side, product innovation, which is looking at the goods or services that are being produced. So that is just a quick introduction overview of what innovation in general means. And we're going now to the other side of the topic today, the question of what does purpose-driven mean? If we're saying purpose-driven innovation, then yes, innovation is a central part, of course, but the other element of the title for today's session is purpose-driven. So what is it that I mean when I'm talking about purpose-driven? Purpose-driven is related to challenges that we're facing and successfully addressing those. So let's first look at two main challenges that we're facing as a global community. And those of you who have been in lectures that I was able to deliver at RCM last year may have seen the 2 or 3 next slides that are coming. So that's a reminder for you. And for the others, let's quickly take a look at what purpose-driven, what we mean with purpose-driven in relation to the two main challenges we're facing as a global community. The first of these challenges is the environmental challenge. What you're seeing there is a solar system that I created on PowerPoint. We don't have it for real, as we all know. But essentially, the way we are living and the amount of resources we are consuming, we would need 4 planets. We would need the resources of 4 planets in order to sustain the lifestyles that we are enjoying. And of course, we all know we don't have those. We only have 1 planet, and we must learn. We have no alternative but to learn to live within our planetary means and to use the resources we have wisely. If we're looking at the 4 planets, that is the statistics roughly for wealthier lifestyles, so for the lifestyles that we have in OECD countries, or that the people that are better off in all over the world are consuming around 4 planets. Or the resources of 4 planets, while the global average is around 1.6. So no matter how you look at it, we are consuming more resources than we have in a sustainable way. And we need to learn to run economic activities in ways that are more sustainable so that we can use this 1 planet that we have for longer than how we can use it the way we're currently doing it. And that, of course, is highly linked to innovation, right? Because we can see 2 ways of achieving that, 2 ways of moving towards living within the resources that we have. One is to drastically reduce our lifestyles. If we're looking at what's happening today during the shutdowns, the lockdowns, then this is hugely beneficial. I think currently we are consuming within 1 planet, within the resources we have. But of course, we don't want to live lives where we are not able to move around freely, where we're not able to meet up with friends, where we're not able to enjoy services and goods that enrich our lives. So if we don't want to basically reduce our resource consumption by going into some version of lockdown, we must innovate. We must find ways that allow us to live a good life, to enhance our lifestyles, but at the same time without putting at risk the very foundation of life on this planet, which is our natural environment. And I brought you 1 picture that you know much better than me where it is. If I saw it correctly, then this is the presidential palace in New Delhi. And this picture is taken in November 2018. And the picture on the right now you see is taken this month, is taken earlier in April of this year. So I think this highlights very clearly the environmental challenge that we're having. And if we're looking for, one of the positive outcomes that this whole corona epidemic may have, then it is that we're seeing uh, how great the impact of our daily lives is on our natural environment. Just look at these two pictures, and the difference between these pictures really is that our human activity, our human emissions that we produce through the way we live have been reduced dramatically through the lockdown. So I think there's little to argue that we have an environmental challenge and that we need to innovate to address this challenge if we're looking at these two pictures. Now, the second challenge I want to talk about is the distributional challenge. And here we're talking about distribution of income, but not only distribution of income, but much more general, the distribution of opportunities in life. And the picture here in the background is actually not a photoshopped version of two pictures, but it is one single picture where on the one side, it's a picture taken in Sao Paulo in Brazil, where on one side you see a very posh, swanky, nice apartment building. You see they all got their whirlpools on the balcony. There's a tennis court there, and you know, very, very nice, luxurious flat. And on the other side, just separated by a high wall, you have the favela, which is the name for slums in Latin America or in Brazil. And you see people who are living in real existential hardship. And so this picture depicts pretty much the situation we have all over the world. We have on one side vast, rich, vast wealth, and we have people who are living very comfortable and good lifestyles who miss nothing. And on the other side, we have a lot of people that are living deprived of basic opportunities to live a dignified life. And that is essentially the second challenge that we're confronted with globally. And again, if we're linking it to the current situation, to the current pandemic, we see that this is not something that is only limited to poor countries or to the shanty towns in large cities, but we're seeing that we're having this situation of distributional challenges all over the world. This is a line of cars at a food bank in the US in Texas. So even in one of the richest and probably still the most powerful nation in the world, you have people who, the moment a bigger crisis strikes, are not knowing where their food is going to be coming from. And they are waiting the entire day at a food bank, hoping to get donated some food so that they can feed their families. This is, as I said, in the US, this is happening in one of the richest countries in the world. And it can't be right that we're not able to distribute the wealth we have in a way that everyone can live a dignified life. So those are the two main challenges. And as I say, we're looking at what purpose-driven means. So purpose-driven means, in essence, finding business solutions that support our capacity to address both of these challenges. And for that, we need to co-create solutions. I think that is something quite important and vital for businesses to realize. And traditionally, India is doing pretty well there by seeing this businesses as being organizations that are embedded in a wider societal responsibility and that are not only responsible towards their shareholders. So there's a lot of traditional wisdom that exists, I think, in India and the way businesses are positioned and are operating. But if we're looking at three main societal actors, then we have policymakers, we have NGOs and civil society organizations, and we have business, of course. And far too often, these three are operated in isolation. The policymakers are saying, well, we will do so much more, but business lobbies are preventing us from being able to do the right things. And NGOs are blaming the businesses, that the businesses are only money-grabbing, greedy people who don't care for the externalities, for the effects that they produce on others. Whereas businesses say, well, you NGOs, you can talk easily because you never earned a dime in your life. You're just spending other people's money. So how are you telling us how we are supposed to run our business? And they're operating in isolation, and everyone tells the other that they are responsible for the challenges that we're facing. And this is not very productive. So what we need is we need more co-creation. We need businesses and civil society organizations and policymakers to collaborate and to see how can we make impacts towards solving these challenges that we're confronted with. The two macro ones are the environmental and the distributional challenge. And under those, of course, there's all the millions of difficulties and problems and things we need to address in order to live sustainable and healthy and fun and good lives. And we're getting there, but still breaking these silos and viewing a role of business to play in being an innovator in collaboration with policymakers and the nonprofit and civil society sector is something that we still need to progress on. But business has this role, of course, to be an innovator. If we're looking at societal parts, actors, and players, and we find that that businesses are the drivers of innovation in our societies. Businesses are the more agile and the more creative organizations. At the same time, we find that policymaking, large-scale funding of fundamental research is hugely important for innovation. I think there's the example that's quite famous of the smartphone. If you're looking at the smartphone, every central technology in the smartphone was developed by government-funded research programs. But then businesses picks up those research results and picks up those ideas and turns them into products. And that's the role that business has. But the touch screen was developed by government-funded research programs. GPS, of course, developed by government-funded research programs. And the internet, developed by government-funded research programs. So we need to see that we have an interdependency here. It is wrong to assume that business can innovate and develops all these innovations all by themselves. Government funding has a huge role for the fundamental research programs, for providing funds in order to lay the foundations. And then business can come and can pick up some of those research results and turn them into products. And but we need this collaboration. We need co-creation of solutions for being purpose-driven in our innovation. So purpose-driven describes activities that are anchored in strong values to make positive impact on challenges we face. That is how we define purpose-driven activities. They are activities that are anchored in strong values to make positive impact on challenges we face. So we have one new key term in this definition, which is values. And so there's just 2 slides, I think they are, to quickly look at what we actually mean with values, what values are. Values can be defined as subjectively desirable and perceived as positive characteristics of qualities of people, actions, and things. So values are generally something that is seen as desirable. Values is something good, and they describe characteristics or qualities of people, actions, and things. And now when values are at play, then values achieve general acceptance, and the general acceptance then turns into norms from which we derive thought patterns, action patterns, and character traits. So every one of us is to some degree value driven. The question are which values drive us as cultural, as from a societal perspective. Different cultures develop different norms, but we all develop norms that then drive our thought patterns and how we act and what characteristics we demonstrate. And As the next step, then we have the question of what values actually do. Values allow our decision making. Values, people take decisions based on values and doing that in expectation to produce desired outcomes. So when I base my decision or decisions that I take in values that I think are relevant and that are norms that drive my thinking and acting, then I do that because I expect to receive desired outcomes. I do that because it's the right thing to do. And by doing that, I expect that the outcomes I receive are somewhat more predictable and more desirable than if I would act free of adhering to any kind of norms or values that I think are important and relevant for my action. When we're looking now what that means for business, this very general introduction on or definition on what values are. We have three levels there why this is relevant for business. And within the business, it is, and that is central for today's session here, values are central, absolutely crucial for strengthening the innovative capacity of business organization. In relationship to other businesses or other organizations, more general, values build trust. If I know that a business partner is adhering to values, if I know that they will not try to take a shortcut when they can, if I know that they will not try to take advantage of me as their business partner just because I forgot something or because I made a mistake, if I know all of this, if I know my partners are acting on values, I will build trust. And trust, of course, is a hugely relevant and important lubricator for business relationships. Without trust, doing business becomes much more expensive and much more time consuming and much more difficult to set up deals because I don't have this lubricant that allows me to reduce transactional efforts and transactional costs. And thirdly, also values are very important for a business in relationship to wider society. Values for a business organization earn legitimacy from wider society. So that means that not only do I think, do I have the the well-wishing of my direct customers or of business partners, of those people who depend to some degree on my success, but I can earn legitimacy from society overall. I can reach a state where in general society thinks this business is good to have. We're happy that this business is in our community. And that, of course, creates a lot of goodwill and a lot of benefits for the business organization to be seen as a desirable organization within society overall. So values are very important for businesses. Values are important as a driver for purpose-driven business activities. And if we're looking at the topic of today, they're strengthening innovative capacity in a business organization. And they're doing that in mainly four forms, which is firstly to strengthen the feeling of togetherness. And that is important because most innovations emerge as team efforts. They provide sense making. So values allow me in an organization to know why I exist as an organization and what I'm there for. Through that, they enhance employee engagement. And of course, innovation depends on engaged employees. And strong values allow me in an organization to benefit from diversity. If I have strong values in the organization, benefits from diversity will emerge because people know I can be different here, but yet I can trust that we have this foundation of shared values. We stand on the same platform, and on this platform, I don't need to worry about being different, but I can bring in my differences into something to create something bigger because I know that we're sharing these fundamental values. So values allow organizations to benefit from diversity, and through those points, innovative capacity is strengthened substantially in business organizations. I'll provide you one quote on values here. Every one of you have heard of this gentleman's brother, but very few have heard of him probably. This is Roy Disney, the brother of Walt Disney, who was very much the business side of his brother's Walt Disney's creative side. And he said, when your values are clear to you, making decisions becomes easier. And I think that's what we can take away from why values are so important in business context. They allow you to take decisions that you can trust in. And by that, you build a whole lot of benefits for your business organization and for society overall. So that leads us to the third and last part, and you're done with the theory. Now we bring some examples, and that will be more entertaining, I hope, also, because some of them are quite interesting, I find. And then, as I said, we'll go into a short break, which will allow you to post some questions in the chat function of the Zoom room here. And after the break, then we'll move into your task for the next week and how we're going to run it. So what is purpose-driven innovation then? Let's take a look. If we're contrasting it to sort of the traditional way of looking at business innovation, then business innovation, as we said in the one of the first slides just now before, aims at innovations that drive growth and or profit for the business organization. If we're looking at purpose-driven business innovation, then it aims at innovations that make impact through the business organization. So we have a pretty strong contrast here. We have on one side innovations that drive profit for the organization, and on the other side, we have innovations that make impact through the organization. So purpose-driven innovation is based on a serving attitude. It is based on viewing business as organizations that ought to serve society. And yes, of course, they are making profit. And if you have a product or an innovation that makes a good impact on the challenges that we're facing, that has a positive impact on people's lives, you will earn good money. It's not about not earning money. It's not about, these are not charities. These are business organizations. But the aim of your innovation is to make a positive impact through the business organization. And the profit you earn is a means in order to achieve that. But the end is the positive impact. Whereas in the traditional framing of business innovation, profit is the end in itself, or the growth of the organization so that it can generate more profit. So it's a question of ends and means. In the traditional framing of innovation, the end of the innovation is the growth of the organization or the profit, whereas in the purpose-driven view on business innovation, profit and the growing organization is the means to achieve the end, which is to make a positive impact, to use the business organization in order to make people's lives better, to enhance their well-being, to enhance the environmental situation that we're having, degradation of our planet, and to make positive impact. So there's a fundamentally different mental model in the purpose of innovation itself when we're looking at purpose-driven innovation versus the traditional framing of business innovation. And I'm coming back to the examples now that I highlighted in the very beginning, because I think all four of them are showing both sides. They are in themselves very much purpose driven. They are fulfilling the need of, or the criteria for purpose-driven innovation, but then something happened in all of those four innovations that is completely against what we would label purpose-driven innovation. If we're looking at the light bulb here, the light bulb, of course, a great innovation. I mean, allowing people to have light independently of whether the sun is shining or not, whether it's day and night, has enhanced, security of roads. It has enhanced our literacy rates because people can study and read it in the evening. It has, I don't need to go on and on and on. I mean, the benefits of having light available with a flick of a switch are hugely beneficial, of course. But then something happened, because when they initially developed the light bulb, they found out that it lasted too long. They found out that the light bulbs they had initially developed, you bought them once and then they just wouldn't break. And we all know that these type of light bulbs we can buy today, they last a year, maybe 2 years, if they're not one of the new LED energy saving light bulbs. But those traditional light bulbs, they last not all that long, and then they break again. And this is by design, so that we have to buy more new light bulbs. This is an agreement that was made very shortly after inventing the light bulb. I think it was between General Electric and Philips, who were the main producers of light bulbs at the time, who agreed on how long a light bulb should be able to burn before it breaks. So this is something that is designed to break. This does not make sense. It certainly doesn't make sense in our framing of a purpose-driven innovation, where you're saying we're trying to address the environmental challenge in this case, when we're producing things that will break. And I bring you, before we go to the other, I got an example here. This is a picture, and we can go to the webcam, of the world's oldest light bulb. This is a light bulb that was produced before this agreement came into action, that light bulbs are produced in ways that they break after a certain amount of time. And this light bulb here is 119 years old, and it's been burning continuously ever since. And I'm showing you, there's a little website for this light bulb even, which you can see here, and there's a webcam on it. So this is an actual picture of today. And it's in a fire department. It's in the garage of the fire brigade of an American small town. And they have a webcam there because they are so impressed by saying, like, you know, well, something's wrong here. We've got this light bulb burning for 119 years. And purely because of the design of the light bulbs that came afterwards, they last a year or a couple of years, depending on how long you burn them, before they break. So that can't be right. And to go on with the next example, the printer here, a home printer. Same thing that's happening there. If you're looking at the error message that these printers are putting out, then they are designed to break after a certain amount of printouts. They have a counter built into the machine, so that after, depending on the machine, a few thousand prints, it will send you an error message that this printer is broken, even though it would be functional still, purely to force us to buy a new machine. Now, this is not purpose-driven innovation. It is not innovation to make a positive impact. This is innovation in the old thinking of saying innovation must foster the growth of the business organization. So again, we have a great product. We have the ability to print ad hoc when we need materials that we need. When these personal computer printers came out, fantastic innovations, but then they built something into it that is very much against our notion of purpose-driven innovation, because they build it in a way that it serves the growth of the organization, but it hurts our planet. The same with the nylon stocking. When they developed it, they simply lasted too long. So DuPont at the time added some chemical additives to the nylon stocking so that they would break in UV light. So the moment you go out in the sunshine, the nylon begins to degrade. And that is not something that needs to happen. That is built that way, that is designed into the nylon to make it in a way that it breaks after a certain amount of time. Again, not an innovation that we would call purpose-driven, but an innovation that is purely based on fostering the growth of the organization. And lastly, we have here the MP3 player, which again, you know, it's, you can say this is a purpose-driven innovation. This is making our lives more comfortable. It is making us enjoy moments that we would otherwise not be able to enjoy to the degree, or it allows us to listen to podcasts and educative inputs that we get at times where we're on public transport, or where we're spending time where we wouldn't be productive otherwise. So a great innovation, but then they build it again in a way that it doesn't last for as long as it could because you can't swap the battery. So the weak point of most of these mobile wearable devices is the battery lifespan. And a lot of these machines are designed in a way that you cannot change the battery, which means that once the battery lifespan is ending, you have to throw away a perfectly functionable, very good machine that many people would like to keep using, but they can't because the battery life is so short that it's no longer practical. I mean, once, if it initially goes down from, I don't know, from 20 hours to 18 hours, the value of it is not that much reduced. But once your MP3 player, your mobile phone, your laptop has got a battery life of under an hour, which happens after using it for some time, the whole device becomes pretty much useless. And then some machines allow you to change the battery and others don't. Preventing people to change the battery clearly is not aligned to how we would phrase purpose-driven innovation. So this is just picking up on the four innovations that I showed you in the very first content slide of this presentation today. But now we're moving on to defining, purpose-driven innovations are changes to business models or to goods and services that aim to make positive impact anchored in strong values. So for your task over the coming week, this is the definition that we're looking for in collecting your ideas and inputs on purpose-driven innovation. And I'll give you a few examples and showing you what this can mean. And there's two examples for a business model innovation and two examples for a product innovation. And with that, we will close the presentation. So we're now in the area of looking at concrete examples that I find quite interesting. The first one comes from a logistics company that was founded in Zurich in Switzerland. And they are addressing an environmental challenge. And they found that if I want to send a little package from Zurich to Vienna, for example, so just from one European country to the next European country, and I call one of the big logistics suppliers, then the following thing happens. To bring that packet from Zurich to Vienna, first of all, a truck comes driving through the city to pick up this packet at my home or in my office, depending on where I want to send it from. Then this truck is driving to the airport in order to bring it to an airplane. And this airplane then flies, depending on whether you're using, which one of the big logistics companies you're using. They're flying it to their distribution centers, which are either near Paris or Liège or Cologne. And so it's being flown there. And from Paris, Liège, or Cologne, it is then flown to Vienna, to the airport there. And from Vienna airport, it is again picked up by a truck and brought to the final destination address. So that is the way that a packet moves from Zurich to Vienna, crossing half of Europe by airplane and being picked up and delivered to the final destinations or the pickup place by a truck. And now there were these entrepreneurs in Zurich who said there's got to be a smarter way of doing this. This is not very efficient. And they founded an organization they call Imagine Cargo. And they're delivering the same service. They're saying, we're bringing your packet from Zurich to Vienna, but they're doing it in a different way. And this is where the business model innovation, the way they operate, comes into place. Because Imagine Cargo sends a bike courier to pick up the packet at the pickup station, be it your home or your office. And from your pickup location, the bike courier will bring the pack to the train station, to the local train station. And then the train brings the goods in the overnight train all the way to Vienna. And in Vienna, again, a bicycle courier picks up the package and brings it to its final destination. Now, through this new way of thinking about delivering the pack, through this innovative business model, Imagine Cargo is charging the same price, and they're taking the same time as the conventional delivery, but they have a 98% reduction on CO2 emissions. Now, you remember the picture of the presidential palace in New Delhi from 2 years ago and from this month. And that is this 98% reduction in CO2 emissions. This is a type of innovation that we need in order to address our environmental challenges. And it is a great example for rethinking an operating model, for rethinking this concept of bringing packs to huge distribution centers, flying them all around Europe to then fly them back to another place. When you have a rail network that can deliver the same thing faster, more efficient, and with a lot less environmental negative impact. Now, another business model that I want to show you that is innovative, and it's actually a company from Kenya in Africa that are currently looking into expanding into India. So it's a very interesting business model they have developed because they've seen that smallhold farmers cannot afford machinery, and because they cannot afford tractors and machinery, the yield that they get from their land is much lower than what they could. So they developed a model where a tracking device is placed onto the tractor, and where there's an app connecting the tractor and the owner of the tractor and smallhold farmers who need a tractor. And so via an app, either as a farmer myself or with a booking agent, I can book a tractor that comes only for the time that I actually need it at a very low cost. And then I don't need to own a tractor anymore, but I still get the benefits of having a tractor. And the tractor owner gets an additional income from his or her tractor. And they have, through the tracking device, they know where their tractor is and how it's doing. So it really is a win-win business model that allows smallhold farmers that cannot afford a tractor on their own to gain all the benefits from having a tractor. Because even if you are a farmer that can afford a tractor, you don't need it every single day. So this is an example of sharing economy, certainly, and it is a very clever business model, innovative business model to say, how can we provide access to machinery that will enhance or grow the yield of smallhold farmers, which in many places of the world is essential in order to enhance the food security of the communities there. And now two more examples of product innovations. This gentleman is Jimmy Wales, and he is, of course, the founder of Wikipedia. A fantastic product innovation, tech-based, online, and having this fundamental idea that knowledge can be accessible to everyone, and that knowledge can be generated and knowledge can be provided by anyone, is revolutionary and hugely impactful, hugely beneficial, and very, very innovative at the time. We thought that an encyclopedia must be controlled centrally by some publishing house and a big institution behind it. And we have, Webster, or we have the Britannica, and these big books need to sit on our shelves, controlled centrally by people who own the knowledge. And this has been completely made obsolete and revolutionized by saying, why? We have the knowledge in ourselves, in our communities. We have knowledge, and we can let articles be provided decentral, autonomously, and they will improve over time because the readers will be able to add to making them better when they see something that's not quite right yet. And so we have with Wikipedia, I think, an innovation that has been massively impactful because it goes beyond the online encyclopedia itself, but it's shown us a new thinking of being able to share and provide content from communities that is beneficial to everyone. And the second innovation, I don't know if you heard of it, that I want to show you is something called Solar Impulse. This gentleman, Bertrand Picard, actually lives in Geneva, also in the city where I'm from. And he is very much an adventurer. He likes balloon flying, and he likes flying airplanes also. And he developed the Solar Impulse, which is the first ever a purely solar-powered airplane that circled the world. So he set out to say the way we're using fossil fuels for our transportation is not right. We cannot continue to burn fossil fuels for our mobility at the rate we're currently burning them. So we need to fundamentally rethink the fuel for our mobility. And of course, we're not expecting to be flying around, me coming to Bangalore from Switzerland next year on a solar plane. It's not about that. It was about delivering proof of concept. It was about delivering the vision and the idea that we can have solar powered flight and that we can find alternatives to fossil fuels in order to ensure our mobility. So this is also an innovation that for sure is quite far away from being a direct product or a service that any of us can purchase, but it pushes the boundaries. It pushes the boundaries and it shows us that we can achieve things that we may have thought impossible not too long ago. So with that, I want to go into the break now, and I'll stop the screen sharing in a second also. But as I said, during this break, you can all post some questions if you have any in the chat function of this room, and then I can read through them after the break. And if there's no question, then that's fine. Then we'll dive straight into the task. It is, I'm not quite sure what time it is for you, but I think it is 4 p.m. now. So let's take a 10-minute or 4:05. So let's take a 10-minute break, and at quarter past the hour, we'll get together again. And now I would be grateful if one of the moderator or Kamal, if you could come in and let me know if you guys were at all able to hear me and see the slides and if everything went fine. And otherwise, enjoy your break, and I'll see you again at quarter past.
Yeah, hi.
Audible. I don't know if were you able to hear and see the slides and everything?
Yeah, I there. Last 15 minutes was out, but before that it's fine. I got your all the points and this thing. Now you have given this assignment or what? It's a break.
Not yet. Not yet. We said we got a break for 2 more minutes. It should be 1/4 past it for you then. And then we'll do the task. And I'm just checking if the students can post messages, because normally there's a chat function also, but it's probably disabled. I can't see it anywhere. Okay, so we don't.
If any question, they can raise their hands also. No issue. No? They can raise their hands and we can unmute them.
Okay, good. And raising the hand puts them at the front. So I see who's raising their hand, probably. We'll have to try it out.
Okay, students, you have any question, then you can raise your hands. We can unmute you and you can raise your question. You know, no, you have a button to raise your hands.
I don't know if anyone is back already or if they can hear us well, but I hope so. If you can, I can hear you and you can hear me. So it should work. Is anyone having any questions from what we were looking at so far?
Anyone? Aparajita, Harshavardhan, Hema Sundar, no question. Mansa, Nutan, Uha, Payal Pandey, Praniti. Where are you guys? You are not asking any question. Kavita, Rajdeep, Yashwant. Generally, you have a lot of questions. Shastika.
And I'm sorry that I said use the chat function and it didn't exist, because the Zoom version that I'm using normally, there's a chat function there, but you can just raise your hand. I don't know how that works, but you will know it. So if you, or on reactions, on the bottom right, there's a button called reactions. And there I have a clap, which I use now, and I have a thumbs up. So whatever you do, it pops up on your window, on your video screen. And then we can see, we can unmute you, and so you can ask your question. Or shall we unmute everyone? Does that work also?
No,
or
then if you unmute, then there is a chaos actually.
Okay.
better to one by one. That is good.
Okay, so I'm not sure, either everyone fell asleep or everyone is still gone, but I don't see any hands.
Now I unmute all. Guys, don't you have any question? Yeah, Sujit, do you have any question? You can ask. I think I have to unmute you or what? Just wait. Hello, Sujit?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was an excellent session that was going on. Fine. Sir, I have a little bit of.
First you introduce yourself. Otherwise, Professor Ernst
Okay.
don't know you. Okay.
Professor, I'm Sujit. I'm still a learner, fine. And lots of input has come in as per the entrepreneurship and innovation has been discussed for. So I'm from Calcutta actually. Basically, I have worked for the corporates like Reliance Industries and Reliance Capital for 18 years. So I have a question, is that when you were discussing values, fine, and innovation of the entrepreneurs, fine, when they come up. So when they are building their enterprise or in innovation, so how they build in bringing the values to the organizations once they are coming into that innovation part.
Your voice is not coming. You are in mute, actually.
Oh, okay. Now I'm unmuted, I hope. It's an excellent question, and because I think it's not that direct. It's not that you say like, okay, we're here an innovation team in an organization, and now let's bring the values into the room. It is much more something that is ingrained in the DNA of the organization. And if you look at how organizations function and all the unwritten rules that exist in organizations, those are all values driven. It's all the behavioral code that is not written down anywhere, that people just adhere to because that's the way how you act and how you operate in your organization. And that is different in different organizations. And when it comes then to innovation or to thinking about innovation, it's not a case of saying, okay, let's innovate and let's bring the values into this innovation, but it will be inside of the innovative process are the values that are central for that organization. I don't know if that answers the question, if I understood it right, but I think it's that to me is the crucial point there. It's not that you bring values into a process in a deliberate and somehow organized form, but the values are always with you in the organization. They're always underlying your decisions and your actions. So it's a question of not of having it explicit, but it's implied in what you do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, I just unmuted you at the end and only heard the thank you. But did that answer to some degree your question? Now you're muted again.
The thing that it's innovation it comes and the values has come up in a different way, which has been set up by the entrepreneur once he wants to innovate something. Fine. Am I correct? Did I understand it right, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great.
You guys, you don't have any question? Shravan Sharma, you should ask one question. Okay. If you have any question, you raise your hand. No, that it will be busy. It will be easy for us to unmute.
We can also go into the task, and then after the task we have more Q&A. Would that work?
Yeah, that's fine then.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that, and I'll share my screen again, and then we have still some Q&A option and time after the task, which is pretty quick now and straightforward, I hope. So your task is over the coming week to record a 2 to 3 minute video introducing your idea for a purpose-driven innovation. It can be the business model or a product or service. So it's your choice of what type of innovation you want to present. But it is a purpose-driven innovation. That's the important part here. So it can be any idea for a business model, product, or service. We've seen, from light bulb to tractor renting app, to Wikipedia, to innovating the business model of logistics. So you're really free, anything you can think of, but it's got to be a purpose-driven innovation. And you'll make a 2 to 3 minute video on your idea. If there's anything that you think like, every time you use a device, you think, oh, this could be done better, I would love it to have it this way, then you already have your idea. Think of something that bothers you in your daily life, or think of something where you see there could be value added by making people's lives better, easier, more comfortable, and by making our world more sustainable and more equitable. And so you produce a 2 to 3 minute video introducing that idea. It has to fit the definition of purpose-driven innovation that we had in these slides. And Kamal, I hope it's okay if I send you a PDF version of the slides. You can distribute it to the course. And then you can go back to the individual slides over the coming days. But your video and the idea you present should fit the definition of purpose-driven innovation that we've been using in this presentation. And it should explain also how you're generating impact. So how is your innovation going to make a positive impact on which challenge? And to make it a little more exciting and interesting, I'm very, very curious to see your videos. You will have 1 week until the 5th of May to complete this task. And then it will be uploaded to a video channel. I think RCM Bangalore is going to provide you with all the information needed for a YouTube channel or Vimeo or whatever you will want to use. And you're going to upload your videos there. And then everyone will have the time between May 5th, between your submissions on May 6th, it starts then, and our next session that we're going to have on this module. You will have time to view the videos and comment on them and put likes there so that we know at the end which the winning innovation is from all of you 90 people that are in this class. So you record the video, you upload it until the 5th of May in 1 week onto the video channel that will be provided to you. And then you will watch each other's video and you market them to each other to, tell your peers what a great idea you have so that you get the likes. And then we'll see how many views we have, how many likes we have for different ideas and videos. And I can't wait to see them. I'm really excited to look at all the ideas that you're going to produce over the coming week. Now, last thing on the task, then what should be included? I think there's 3 main elements that videos should include. You don't have to. This is guidance. It's not a requirement. And you can change the order in which you present it. But I think it makes sense to introduce the big picture purpose. So if we're looking for the tractor rental company, for example, the big picture purpose there is to enhance nutritional security, right? They find time and again that nutrition is a big, massive problem in poor communities. One of the reasons for bad nutrition is that farming yields are very low. One reason for low farming yields is that machinery is too expensive and missing on the smallhold farms. So what do? We provide people with access to this machinery. And so the big picture purpose there would be to enhance nutritional security, food security in poor communities. If we're then looking at the business model, what does Hello Tractor do? What is the innovation that is actually there? Their business model, their product is to say we'll have a device, a tracking device that we can install on the tractor and we'll combine that with an app that can match demand and supply for tractors. If I'm a tractor owner and I don't need it myself every day of the year, I can rent it out for some of the time. And if I'm a smallhold farmer that doesn't own a tractor, I'll be able to access that machinery at a much, much lower cost, and at a cost that is affordable to me, whilst buying a tractor would not be affordable to me as a smallhold farmer. So this is the new business model and the product that they're having. And then lastly, what's the concrete impact? How will your innovation make impact? The innovation, if we're sticking to the Hello Tractor example, you're making an impact there because you're allowing a tractor to now be used by, let's say, 50 farmers instead of being used by only one farmer. So the direct impact you're having is that 49 farmers are now having access to machinery that substantially enhances the yield on their field. So that would be something to put into a 3-minute video, 2 to 3 minute video covering those points. You're absolutely free in how you want to design the video. You can talk as yourself, just take a video of you where you're talking us through your idea. You can use a slide. You can go outside and, you know, or out of your window or wherever you see the challenge that you're addressing, and show us some footage of what the challenge is that your purpose-driven innovation will solve. You're entirely free to be creative and choose a way of showing us what your purpose-driven innovation is all about. And so a very simple task that we have. To repeat again, the main part is it can be any idea for a business model, product, or service, but it should be aligned to our definition for purpose-driven innovation, and it should explain what kind of impact you're going to make on which challenge. And all of that in 2 to 3 minutes, short, crisp, and to the point. So with that, I'm done again. And I just wanted to use this time after the break now to talk you through the task. And we now have again time for questions if there are any. And as we just said, I will be sending RCM the PowerPoint version, the PDF version of the presentation, so that you can look back into the content that we covered. And but if you have any questions right now, now's the time.
Okay. So the assignment you have got, actually, you can upload it to a YouTube channel. Okay. Your Sami sir will share the YouTube channel ID password. So everyone has to make a 2 to 3 minutes video kind of thing and post it in the this YouTube channel only. Okay. And not only that, you have to do it by 5th of this month. And then you have to see all the others, the video, and you have to put your comments also. Okay. So according to that, we'll have another 1 week, and Ernst will assess how it actually and what is the ideas behind that. And in the next session, what we, I think it will be on the 12th, second or third week of this next month, I think. Then we'll discuss the entire of your the video, what you have posted, what's your idea, and the entire. Okay. Now, Sami sir is there. I think he can share the ID password, or he can share in our WhatsApp group. That's not an issue. But you student, you have you any question? You can raise your hands and ask, or I will name now. If you not take the lead, then I can ask you to raise any questions. Okay. Shatadipa Ghosh. Fine. Shatadipa, you are on mute now. Yeah, Shatadipa, you are on mute now. You can call.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sir, I just wanted to know more about the big picture purpose that sir just explained a few minutes ago.
Yes. If we're talking about purpose-driven innovation as being different from how we traditionally viewed innovation in businesses, then we said that the innovation is needs to make a positive impact on a challenge that we're facing. So the overall big macro challenges currently that I introduced were the distributional and the environmental challenge. So you should provide an idea for an innovation that contributes to a cleaner environment, for example, or you should provide an innovation that essentially an innovation that does something more than just growing the business. You know, you can say like, if we're looking at the examples of the light bulb, for example, this is an innovation. If you would say my innovation is to have light bulbs that break after 2,000 hours of usage, then that wouldn't be a purpose-driven innovation. That would be an innovation because you're changing something in your product that enhances the profitability because you're forcing people to buy more light bulbs. But we wouldn't classify it as a purpose-driven innovation because it doesn't contribute to a cleaner environment. But on the contrary, it produces waste and wastes resources and energy and pollutes our environment. So the innovation that you should present and the big picture impact would be to say like, my innovation is supporting a cleaner environment, or my innovation will raise food security, or my innovation will raise literacy rates in rural communities, or my innovation will prevent road accidents, or so that is in essence what we're looking for. We're looking for ideas for innovations that do not only allow to grow the business whilst they are risking to produce adverse effects on our environment or our societies, but we're looking for innovations that make a positive contribution.
Okay, so basically, it will be something which will like add on the business and as well as to the society as well for the
Yes,
welfare of the people.
exactly. And the important part there is the commercial side. The business will benefit, right? But the business will benefit because you're providing something that's valuable to people, because you're providing something that is good for society.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank
And
you.
one more question. Can we make the presentation and this work that you have provided us in groups if we can do that? Is it possible or we have to do it solo?
I quite like the idea of doing it in groups because if we're looking at how innovation happens in businesses for real, then it's a collaborative effort.
Exactly.
Innovations are collaborative. Now, I don't know with the whole lockdown situation how well you are able to collaborate.
So we
Come
can
on.
connect over the phone. We can connect over the phone and all. So if we allow, then we can make a small groups of 5 to 6 people, and then we can make the presentation and go with the work.
Satadipa, I think you go for solo because it's very difficult to bifurcate the team right now. Again, it will, I think, create havoc. So better, because we cannot get you face to face. That's the difficulties. Okay.
So we can make our
better you
own
go.
team, no. So we can
Why?
make our own little teams. No, that with the people we are comfortable, then the work will be easier also.
But fine, but we will have 90 videos, no, 90 ideas actually. We are rich of that. Why go for group?
Okay, sir.
Make one individual
So
one. That will be better, I think.
So we have an executive decision.
I think it's better. Otherwise,
Yes,
to make
I
a
mean,
group and this thing is very difficult.
No, I can see. I mean, it makes sense for pragmatic reasons, right? If it will be difficult with not everyone has access to the same collaborating tools online, and so we'll make it solo. And I saw a hand up just now, and now it's not there anymore. Arjun, was that you? So I don't know, are there any other questions?
Swastika. Swastika is there. Just hold on, Swastika. Unmute or not? Swastika.
Oh, here I see there's one.
Yeah, Swastika, you can raise your question.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kimakowitz. Actually, I have a question. It's not about the task. Actually, because of this crisis, this pandemic situation, the forecasted slowdown in economic growth, there is a forecasted slowdown in economic growth. So how can this innovation protect the national economic growth? I just wanted to know about this.
It can't.
Okay.
I don't think that, I mean, in essence, what we're having is we press the pause button on economic activity. And if you, no matter how innovative you are, if your customers aren't allowed to buy your products, you're not going to sell them. It doesn't matter how innovative you are. If we can't leave our houses, we can have the most innovative restaurant concept. The restaurant will be empty. If we can't go to our offices, we can have the nicest and most productive office environment. People will not be able to produce anything if they're not coming to their workplace. So I think we are currently in an extreme situation where you know, all the productivity and innovation and the new ways of working, and they cannot outcompensate the loss of economic activity. So we will. This is one of the biggest long-term results of this crisis, is that the world will be poorer. We will have slowed growth, and we will be paying off our debt for decades to come. It's
Then
a harsh
how can then how can innovation help us after this situation? So?
Well, in a million ways, of course. I mean, first of all, innovation can help us in finding the most obvious and most impactful in finding a vaccination. Right? I mean, every new medical treatment, every new medicine that is developed is a masterpiece of innovation. Because we have people in a lab sitting there trying to combine knowledge that we already have with knowledge that we don't yet have through experiments to find a vaccination that will protect us against this. You know, vaccination would probably be the most, the biggest innovation that will happen. And but then there's many more ways that are more directly impacting how we act and interact. I mean, Zoom, what we're doing right here, right now, a video conferencing tool where we can have 90 people or even more people viewing a presentation, no matter where in the world we are, is something we wouldn't have had 5 years ago. So these are all, you know, there's these direct product innovations that allow us to be productive and adapt to new situations. And of course, there's the breakthrough innovation that would make obsolete all the restrictions that we're currently having.
And
Okay.
I just add, Swastika, in any difficult
Yes,
situation, any difficult situation, any breakthrough innovation always helps people actually. Okay, and as Professor told, no, in this critical situation when everything for the for the society, for to share everyone with the reducing the cost, easy accessible, it is always helpful. Okay, you can have any idea. We are already in the Zoom platform. You can make it in a better way also. There are some shortcomings there.
Yeah, as we get this assignment, I wanted to know that. So whatever we'll think, like idea or anything, that would be based on this situation, like this crisis, or it can be anything, like any platform, anything.
Anything. Anything. It can be on the crisis. If you're saying I've developed a new face mask that is very cheap to produce and as effective as the more expensive ones, of course you can relate it to the current pandemic, but it doesn't have to be. It can just relate to a cleaner environment or a more equitable society or access to goods or services that people currently are excluded from. It can be anything. But it can relate to the current crisis, but it doesn't have to.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Or you understood the points and everything? Moni Roy. Okay. Yeah, there's a question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'm audible?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, this is a easy question to you that to should I have to do first?
Your voice is not
Can you hear
coming,
me?
Noli. And now your voice is cracking actually. You repeat again?
Sir, now it's audible?
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I can.
So my question to sir is to become a good innovator, what should I have to do first?
I think the first thing you should have is or what is absolutely necessary is to have an eye for improvements in your direct environment. I think a lot of the great innovators have invented things and have started implementing new ideas because they were unhappy with something in their personal life. They were unhappy with how their car was working, and so they thought, I'll build a better one. They were unhappy with the with a kitchen utensil they were using, so they built a better one. They were unhappy with the service quality they received in some place, so they made a better service. I think the foundation of innovators is being unhappy, being unsatisfied with something that you're using yourself, and you're saying, this can be done better. And if no one else does it better, then why don't I do it better? I think that is sort of the mindset that innovators share. They're dissatisfied when they see something that could be better.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
What we are getting from the environment, and if you are not happy, then you can be a good innovator. Okay, next. Ayan Mukherjee, Abhishek Kumar, Alexa, Aparajita Schwein, Arjun Goda. Where are you? Doraj Bhushan, Chaitra, Dibba Vimireddy, Gaurav Mukherjee, Gayana Ranjan, Hema Sundar, Jaya Lakshman, Jamiasha Reddy, Jayasri Jena, Jitendra Reddy, Khalid, Kirod, Kesai, Mala, Mansha, Meghna, Mohammad Soed, Pavan, Payal, Payal Roy, Pujita, Pratik, Prem Kumar, Rahul Kumar, Ramaya, Ranjeev, Rashmi, Ritik, Rituraj, Rohit, Rumela. You don't have any question? Sai Kripa, Shaptaparna, Saravana, Satadipa. Okay. People are there.
Okay, I mean, if everything is clear, then everything is clear, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so maybe we can unmute everyone to say goodbye then.
Good.
Right?
Goodbye, sir.
Now it feels like you're in a room with many people.
Take care.
So,
Bye, sir.
thank you, every one of you
Bye,
for
sir.
today. And very much looking
Thank you,
forward
Professor.
to, by the
Information, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ernst, for the first session. And
Yeah.
students will upload the video in the YouTube by 5th of this month. And they will be given 1 week to comment on this thing. And in the second week onwards, we will have the next session on the whatever the assignment given. Okay.
Exactly.
And you will fine. I will coordinate exactly. Thus, you will share the presentation with me, and I can share with them. Okay.
Great.
And these three
Okay.
topics I will share them. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Okay. Guys, now we can conclude the meeting, I think. Okay. Thank you very much.
তেরিকে করতে পারে না